Hey, so I met a hypnotist in VRChat, and this guy was genuinely really interesting, like really sweet, really nice. And so I decided to interview him, because why the fuck not? Um, just a couple of notes before we start the interview. Um, First, he is not a professional hypnotist. He asked me to clarify this. He is not a professional, so, take, but he just knows his stuff, so take what he says with however much salt you desire. And a second, this interview sort of happened unprepared. It just kind of happened mid-conversation, really, I'll be honest. So, it's more of a discussion and rather than a full professional interview. If you guys have any more questions, you can put them down in the comments below, and I can ask him and maybe make a second part to this. I just thought it was really interesting. So, onwards to the video. Let's start streaming, yay. Um,
Yeah. Where do you want
well,
me to be sitting, by the way?
don't care. Sit whatever you want. Just stay still for the love of God, because I know you move around so much, and it's really distracting. I'll be honest.
That's fair. This
um.
is probably good.
Well, to introduce yourself, first of all, tell me your name, occupation, social security number, credit card, phone number. How can I contact you?
Uh,
List of weaknesses.
so starting off name, I am Grim. That's what I go by. That's what I usually go by anyway. Uh, but most people call me Grim anyway. Occupation, I currently work at Amazon, but I am an amateur hypnotist, which I will hope to become a hypnotherapist once I can save up for college.
Let's go.
Um, yeah. Uh, Name, occupation. Then you said
List of weaknesses.
list of weaknesses. My left pinky toe. Uh, my inherent fear of tornadoes from living in the United States and going
That's fair.
tornado chasing when I was younger. And I also really don't like it when people talk over me.
Great. I'm gonna be talking. I'm gonna be talking over you a lot. So, uh,
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
I guess first question would be, what kind of got you into it?
If I'm honest, I got into it after I was like, you have all those cartoons have like mind control plots and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like all of like your totally spies, your
Oh my
fucking like
lord.
your spy shows, like all of those weird episodes of American cartoons that have mind control as a subplot. And a lot of them feature hypnotism in it, and I wondered if it was real, so I looked it up and I found YouTube videos of like trances and like inductions and that kind of thing. And then from there, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I forgot about it for like 8 years. And then when I was 18, I'm like, sure, I'll pick this up. Let's see where it goes, And then I got interested to it, got into some discords that were about hypnosis, and then I kind of watched what people were doing and reverse engineered stuff from that. Which is why I think I have a pretty decent understanding of the mechanics of it
There are
compared to some
discords
other
about
people,
it.
but I lack in like the book learning section of it.
I had no idea that like public Discord servers. Is there like a genuine like community, like a fandom about hypnosis?
There's like safe work communities, and then there's not safe work communities.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, the safe work communities are all about like self-improvement and like understanding hypnosis and like how that
Yeah.
works and that kind of thing. The not safe work communities are very different, however. They just kind of do their own thing.
Yeah, talking about fucking.
Yeah, I mean, among other things. But yeah, like people usually use hypnosis as a form of like enhancement for other kind of kinks.
Mm-hmm.
BDSM, you can use it for like kind of like if you like role playing it, you can enhance role playing with it by like making the person believe that they're doing it.
Wow, that's
There's a
actually really
subsection
interesting.
of yeah, there's a subsection of hypnosis of the hypnosis kink community that's really into consensual non-consent (CNC), which boils down to acknowledging like, hey, I'm giving you a lot of control. Here are my rules. Here are my limitations. Now do what you want to do.
Whoa.
And there's also a subsection that's like, hey, I want you to make me forget that I gave you consent.
I'm sorry, that's just really
And
creepy.
Yeah, it's a rape play fantasy kind of thing. Like
Uh,
it's not really like, yeah,
is
it's a
that?
bit squeezy. It's not something that's common, but it is
Yeah,
something that exists.
I'd hope so. I hope it would be it wouldn't be common. Um,
Yeah.
well, by the way, this is great. I can put sexual in the YouTube thumbnail as well. This is great.
Yeah. I mean, of course, like the hypnosis community as well, like the sexual side of it is heavily focused on consent. Like it's one of the biggest things. It's like in your introduction, you're supposed to list your limitations, and before every session, the proper thing to do, which most people do, is have like a full discussion of like limitations, what people are looking for, what you're looking to get out of it, what you like and dislike, you know, what is planning on for that session, and like what you're planning on doing. And then only after all of that do you actually get to the hip play.
Gotcha.
It's like it is like it is a part of BDSM where it's just like you have to like fully informed consent and people have to stick to it, otherwise it is a serious like violation of consent in which people are booted from discords for.
Yeah, that's probably arrested as well, to be honest.
Unfortunately, it's like the darker side of that is like there's not a lot of reporting and Discord is anonymous for the most part.
Oh yeah,
Like you can report
that's
them to
true.
Discord for like terms of service, but like it's not much you can do. Like on different groups, there you can do more depending on if like they have like a Reddit or something like that. But
Hmm,
it's mostly it's a very well self-policed community for what it is.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
I
more of the community as a whole, though.
I actually did have like a question like for you personally.
Yeah,
So you said that you can do self-hypnosis at one point during our
I s-
conversations.
I said that it's possible to do self-hypnosis. I unfortunately have a makeup, it like psychologically speaking, that is very difficult to
Ah,
hypnotize.
done.
Like I know I can be hypnotized. I've been hypnotized before, but it's so difficult to the point where I don't usually bother.
I was just gonna ask you, like, have you ever like tried to hypnotize yourself during like times where you feel really bad, like awful?
I mean, to be honest, hypnosis really doesn't help me all that much in that kind of sense. I find just kind of introspection and understanding psychology that I get from doing hypnosis to be a much bigger help.
So
Because, like, one of the weird things that you run into when you hypnotize a lot of people over a long time is that you kind of just start to understand how people work because of the reactions that you get from, like, out of trance. It's like how people interpret certain language, how people like think, how people like decide to act on certain suggestions. It gives you a lot of insight as well into like how people act, and if you're like looking for it, you introspect as well and find like, how do I think, how do I do these things? And it's helped me become a lot more stable as a person and helped me with communication greatly just by having that understanding.
gotcha. That's that's cool. So you basically you find helping like you find doing the hypnosis to other people a lot more like comforting to you in times of sad boy hours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not generally an unhappy person. I am rather happy with myself. I used to have depression, and the joy that I got from hypnotizing other people has made me feel better on
Hell
occasion.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm glad for you, my
but
man.
like, yeah, I'm a bit of a pleasurist, so I like helping people, and that's what makes me feel good.
Good.
It does mean that I have to force myself to focus on myself sometimes, though.
Fucking hate thinking about myself. I hate it so much.
I
uh,
mean, if you hate thinking about it, the way that I like, then it probably means that you have some things that are unresolved to try to like figure out.
hey, this interview's not about me. It's about you. It's not time to go into my.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, fair enough, man. But introspection helps. It helps you figure out who you are as a person and what you like and whether something is toxic or not. No?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
God,
that's just my take on it.
I'm gonna be able to play sad Minecraft music behind this. It's gonna be so great.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Um, next question. What, like, you know how the usual reaction to someone, to you saying someone, to you saying to someone like, I'm a hypnotist, and the usual reaction is like, oh my god, can you do it on me? Do you think? Have you ever done it? Have you ever been like, okay, and then just did it to someone?
A lot, actually. Like, I've done
Actually,
that a lot. Uh, yeah, it's like, so hypnotizing someone like who's like, there's a couple different people who want to try it. There's like people who are like, oh, it's a new experience. I'm never gonna get this chance again. Let's see if I can do it. Let's see if this is real, and they're curious about it. There's also the people who are like, ha, fucking, I'm so strong-willed, I can't be hypnotized. And like, they still can be hypnotized. You just need to go about it a way that's dependent on them, depending on who they are as a person and like what kind of like structure their mind is in.
yeah,
But if they're actively resisting, it's a lot more difficult, you
yeah,
know?
for sure.
Like I can do covert inductions as well, which usually helps with people like that who are like hypnotize me, but they don't want to be hypnotized. So it kind of helps to mix the induction into with just regular conversation.
Gotcha.
Uh, but yeah, to be honest, I think it's the reason why people are like so like against being hypnotized and they want to prove that they aren't is usually because hypnosis is seen as something that's either like hacky or they think it's something that they're strong enough to resist just as a person. They see it as a kind of like
As a
a
challenge.
test to prove
Yeah.
themselves on. Yeah, it's like they take it as a challenge basically, which isn't bad, but it certainly isn't. I don't think it's the best way to look at it, I suppose.
So conversationalist, like conversationalist psychology, hypnotherapy. Could you like explain that, like how it works? Because that's your level of expertise, I believe, right? That's your domain.
That is something I have a great deal of expertise in. Like honestly, conversational hypnosis is something that is a bit weird in that I often have to mix it with other types of inductions later on to get someone really deep into trance.
Gotcha.
It's really just getting the foothold that I use the conversational stuff for, which is adapted to my personal style. The most common kind of conversational inductions that I do are like telling a story or explaining how hypnosis works, and in the middle of that conversation slip in examples to show like this is how it works and this is how you should be feeling, and like, and you feel this, right? It's like the explanation of automatic visualization that I did earlier, where it was like you can't not understand words when you hear them. That is a part of one of my most common inductions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if
Like I can transition from that seamlessly into a trance.
so there's not like any like when you start like a session, quote unquote, there's no like cold cut from this is just normal conversation to this is I'm hypnotizing you right now.
It depends on the person mostly because people react to it differently. For example, people with ADHD or have like who have a high like active mind often will fare worse if I try to induce them while they're like fully conscious that I'm about to induce them. So I'll do the negotiation first and like go through and it's like, here's what I'm going to do, here's how it's going to work. Go through all of that, and then like as I'm getting to the end of that and say, okay, I'm going to hypnotize you in a bit, just letting you know. And they're like, yeah, it's like, but I want to talk a bit more first. And so we'll talk a bit more and I'll work it into the conversation. So like, so they know they're about to be hypnotized. They just don't know exactly when.
Gotcha. It's like it's like a jump scare. It's like a hypnosis jump scare basically. If I put it into
To be
dumb
honest,
words.
I would describe it. Yeah, I would describe it as eating like a pot brownie. Like honestly, where it's like you don't really realize until you're suddenly very aware of the fact that
Oh
you're
yeah,
high.
like it just hits you like right like 40 minutes after.
Yeah, it's like, oh, wait a minute. This was a thing that's happening. I remember now.
There you go.
Hold on a sec. Let me plug in my headset.
There you go.
Fuck.
You got this, man. I believe in you.
Fuck. Fuck.
You got this. There you go. The wonders of
Okay.
VRChat. What is the
Fair enough.
most
Fair enough.
what is the most like frustrating bit about hypnotism? Is it like the stigma of like people going, ew, it's weird? Or is it something
I
else?
mean, so I definitely say that would probably be pretty close. Like, so a lot of the unfortunate side of things of doing things online is like, firstly, you meet a lot of people who are just there to fuck people.
Yeah.
Like, they're there specifically to give an ungenuine reaction, to be like, hey, I'm not here to actually be hypnotized. I'm here to fuck with people who think they're hypnotists.
Hmm.
And that certainly doesn't help, especially when you're trying to learn how to be a hypnotist and you're practicing on people, because you don't always have like an in-person person you can practice on. So you just kind of have to go with who you are, and especially like over text and over voice, people can easily just pretend to be hypnotized, and that hurts your skill as a hypnotist, and that's like makes it all very difficult to learn. Uh, Especially if you can only judge by like their reaction over text, which is like non-existent. Uh,
Non-existent.
so it's definitely like that, I would probably say,
Like
where there's a lot of people
the
who act in
pretending.
bad faith. Yeah. Another thing is like another thing that really bothers me is there are a lot of like one of the few things that you'll get when you look up hypnosis is like hypnosis in like cults and cult-like situations,
Yeah.
and hypnotists being absolute dickbags. Like,
I mean, that is true. The way you find out about hypnotism is literally the villains from TV shows hypnotizing the heroes.
yeah. And it's really a shame, because it's like it's such a useful tool to do just about anything you want with psychology. It's like you can experience anything, you can feel anything, you can like have help having more self-control, or have help like getting over trauma, or like all these very useful things. And like never mind the fact that the recreational uses of like just having fun with other people. And like the first thing that comes to mind is like the cases where it's abused.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, what do you think was the most like sweet experience on your in your hypnotism adventures? Like, what was the part that was like that kind of made you feel this was all worth it, and like the kind of the best experience you've had? Cannot be kinky, just like the most wholesome experience, or like the one that made you feel like this is one you want to do with the rest of your life.
So it started out as a kinky thing, but I met a person online who I became very close friends with. And the thing about hypnosis is that it's additive. The longer you work with a person, the more you can really do with them. The more skilled they are as a subject, the more doors open up. Because like the limit of hypnosis is that you can't really do something that you can't imagine happen. You can't feel like falling from orbit. You can like get a sensation that's close, but it still is highly dependent on your skill to imagine things and my skill to describe things. But I had worked with this person over the course of years, basically. And I'm still friends with them to this day, but we don't really talk that much anymore. Essentially, I helped them with hypnosis by like helping them like focus more on school, and help them like be more aware of themselves and like what kind of biases they have. And I help them like just generally day to day, help them relax on a stressful day, or help them go to bed at night because they couldn't sleep. And honestly, just the ability to help people in a way that like I couldn't do before is just amazing. Like I can't play like bad runs in video games, like, so it's like just being able to help a person like tangibly, and like know that this person that I helped is doing better because of what I did, because of like the things and the skills that I learned. It's an incredibly validating experience. And like I'm sure a lot of hypnotherapists would agree, that's like stuff that would normally take like months of like hard fought social pressure and like habit making and intense willpower, you can do in a week or two if it's a really difficult problem, and they'll be set after that. Like quitting smoking and that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And just the knowledge that you can help people, that's kind of the best part of it.
Gotcha. So you kind of do it just to help people, which is very good, very,
Yeah.
very, very noble of you. Um,
Yeah.
is there like any sessions that you've had that kind of stick out, that kind of like had a massive explosive change to the other person, or is it usually just like a slow burn?
Yeah. Recently, I started working with a girl from the UK who was heavily into drugs, heavily into like cigarettes, well, not like hard drugs like weed and that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and like drinking and that kind of thing.
Yeah. The devil's
I helped her
cabbage.
within like maybe a week of meeting her. Quit smoking, start exercising, start eating more healthy,
Hey.
and helped her like find chores around the house easier to do as well. And a couple of weeks later now, it seems to still be going pretty strong. Like those effects haven't faded at all. And once you hit about the month mark of like things that you are feeling and experiencing and like habits that you're forming, you can generally guarantee that after like a month, it'll either become habit or it'll be gone. So if it's still there after a month, that's really good. That's a really good sign. So
Okay. She had I had another question. Um, what is the like kind of the catalyst, I guess, to starting a hypnotherapy session?
what is the catalyst to a
Yeah,
hypnotherapy
like
session?
how do you start it? What is the kind of like the basic I guess what's kind of like the basic step-by-step guide that every session should follow? Is there any like
Uh,
very minor?
Generally, you're always tailoring the session depending on the person. You're always, if you're being a good hypnotist, you should be talking to them first, understanding it, understanding them, what their needs are, what their current mindset is. There's like little tests you can do to kind of determine if a person is like a hyperactive mind, which you may need to tailor your induction to try to get hypnosis to work as effectively as it can. After the negotiation stage, you're kind of priming, which is something that's like you're setting them up so that the hypnosis is more effective through just talking and conversation. Like that thing I mentioned about like breathing manually earlier and why it's a part of that induction is because when you're breathing manually, it forces you to relax more. It forces you to be like to like focus on your breathing, which makes your breathing slower, which makes you relax more. And the entire induction is an explanation of how hypnosis works and why knowing how it works makes it more effective.
Gotcha.
And so once that becomes the case, it's like they're primed, they're ready to be hypnotized. And then just very simple suggestions, just testing to see the waters, testing to see how they react to like you're feeling very hazy or you feel like a weight in the back of your mind that's like a rock sitting there and you can kind of feel that weight pushing down on your neck, pushing down on like being pulled down by gravity. And depending on their reaction to simple suggestions like that, I can change the induction to be more overload in style, which is like more focused on overloading all of their senses at once rather than getting them to experience one thing.
Interesting.
And yeah, how has hypnotism helped me?
Yeah. Like, have you? You've told me you've been hypnotized before, right?
Yeah, well, to be entirely honest, I haven't really seen any direct benefit from being hypnotized, but from learning hypnosis, like a lot has kind of like become more apparent.
Gotcha.
Like I've learned a lot about how people work and how to talk to people in a way that's more effective at communicating what I want to convey. I've learned, I've improved my descriptive abilities. I've improved my confidence. Like hypnotism is basically my sole point of like, this is a thing that I can be proud of. It's like this, it's like the one thing that I really have that's unambiguously good that I think. Like it's like a skill that I've self-taught, that I've practiced, that I've perfected, and I really don't have any other skills like that I am proud of in the same way.
Interesting.
So just learning hypnosis has been very good for my mental health in general.
Gotcha. Well, I'd love to talk to you more, but do you have any final notes on the interview? Because my disk's gonna run out of space.
All right. Closing remarks. Basically, hypnotism is a very useful tool. It can help a lot of people, and it can be very fun. If you're going to try hypnosis, try to find someone that you trust. Try to find someone that you can meet and talk to and learn about before you go into a session with them. Hypnotherapists are legally required to act in your best interests, but still, if you're getting any bad feelings, it's best just not to. But if you do find someone you can work with, the benefits of hypnosis can be beyond what you can even imagine in most cases. From getting over personal traumas with hypnotherapists, or getting over like bad habits, or being able to learn to be a better person, or being more aware of yourself, there's a lot of benefit to it. There's, of course, a dark side to it as well, but that just means you should educate yourself to be better aware of it. And in the end, hypnosis is a tool like any. It matters more how you use it than the tool existing in the first place.